Welcome to Bedtime Story. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to support us.
Hello, and welcome to this peaceful bedtime story. Snuggle in, take a deep breath, and get ready to meet a very slow, but very sweet little turtle named Toto. Toto was a tiny turtle who lived in a quiet, green forest where the leaves swayed gently in the wind and the river whispered softly as it flowed over the stones. Toto was slower than all the other animals. Even the ants seemed to move faster, but Toto didn't mind. He liked to take his time. Every morning, he would stretch his little legs, peek out of his shell, and begin his slow and steady walk through the woods. But sometimes, just sometimes, Toto wished he could be a little quicker. He loved watching the birds swoop through the air and the rabbits bounce through the bushes. Wow, he would sigh. I wish I could go as fast as they can. One sunny day, as he wandered along the edge of the forest, he heard a tiny rustling sound. "Hello?" he called softly from under a pile of leaves. A small squirrel popped her head out. She was sniffly and sad. "Oh, hello," said Toto gently. "Are you all right?" "My acorn rolled into the stream," said the squirrel, "and I can't get it back." Toto smiled kindly. "I may be slow," he said, "but I'm very good at reaching into water." He walked over to the stream, lowered his head slowly and with great care, scooped the acorn up with his nose. "Here you go," he said proudly. The squirrel's eyes lit up. "Thank you, thank you, thank you," she cheered. Toto felt warm and happy inside. He may not have been fast, but he was helpful and kind. As the day went on, Toto continued his stroll. He stopped to listen to the breeze, to feel the sunlight on his shell, and to smile at the fluttering butterflies. He didn't rush, he never did. But everywhere he went, he saw small wonders others missed. A glowing mushroom under a rock, a sleepy owl blinking from a high branch, even a baby deer learning to walk. Toto noticed them all because he took his time. When the sky turned orange and pink, Toto knew it was time to go home. He tucked into his shell under a mossy log, curled up tightly, and yawned a little turtle yawn. "Maybe being slow isn't so bad after all," he whispered sleepily. And as the stars twinkled above, Toto drifted into a gentle, peaceful sleep. The night was quiet, except for the soft sound of leaves rustling gently in the breeze. Toto's little paws twitched slightly as he dreamed of floating on a cloud made of cotton candy. In his dream, the cloud carried him over sleepy meadows and glowing moonlit lakes. Tiny fireflies blinked below like lanterns, lighting his way through the quiet sky. Toto smiled in his sleep, his tail giving a tiny wag. He floated past the mountains, where owls hooted lullabies from their nests. He waved to a family of hedgehogs, tucked in snugly beneath a mushroom cap. The stars above twinkled even brighter, as if they, too, were watching over little Toto. Somewhere in his dream, a soft voice said, "Sleep well, Toto. The night is yours." And with that, he sank deeper into slumber, his breath calm and slow. Toto's cloud gently rocked, like a cradle in the sky. The breeze hummed a quiet tune, soft as a whisper. He peeked over the edge of his cloud, watching petals float across a moonlit pond. Each petal drifted slowly, just like Toto liked to do. A sleepy fox blinked up at him, then nestled its nose into its fluffy tail. The stars above blinked in a steady rhythm, like the beat of a gentle lullaby. Toto's shell felt warm and safe, wrapped in nighttime's quiet hug. He let out a soft little sigh, one only the night sky could hear. The cloud carried him past hills, shaped like pillows, dotted with trees that swayed like dancers in slow motion. Below, the grass shimmered with moon dew, each blade twinkling like a tiny wish. Toto felt like he could sleep forever, cradled by the hush of the world. And just before he sank even deeper, he whispered one more thought. I like floating. It feels like dreaming while awake. And with that soft smile on his face, Toto slept even more peacefully than before. The cloud floated slower now, as if it, too, was getting sleepy. Toto's eyes blinked open just a little, and he saw a glowing butterfly. Its wings sparkled like stardust, fluttering gently beside him. The butterfly didn't flap fast. It moved in slow, dreamy loops. Toto reached out a little paw, and the butterfly landed on it. It felt like velvet and moonlight. Soft, quiet, magical. Hello, Toto whispered, but the butterfly just glowed gently in reply. It didn't need to speak. It simply shimmered with kindness. Toto smiled sleepily, his paw still holding the little glowing friend. The cloud swirled downward, toward a field made entirely of glowing flowers. They opened slowly, one by one, as if greeting the night. Toto's cloud gently landed in the middle, and the flowers began to hum. It was a lullaby. Soft as feathers, slow as dreams. Toto nestled down among the petals, the butterfly now resting on his shell. The music wrapped around him, like a warm, sleepy scarf. He closed his eyes once more, and the world faded into quiet stars. As Toto rested among the glowing flowers, the earth beneath him began to gently hum. Not loud, not sharp, just a soft, slow vibration, the kind that made your paws feel warm and your eyelids feel heavy. Then, from beneath the petals, came a soft glow blue and round. It was a light mushroom, yawning awake from its underground nap. More mushrooms began to blink on, one after another, like sleepy stars growing from the soil. Toto lifted his head just a little, mesmerized by their slow, steady rhythm. They weren't trying to shine. They were just glowing. No effort, no rush. Just being soft and quiet and bright. Toto let out a long, peaceful sigh and rested his head again. The butterfly still sat gently on his shell, its tiny wings tucked in for sleep. The flower field began to sway, slowly, gently like a lullaby from the earth itself. He let the gentle glow tuck him in, and he drifted into a deeper dream. In his dream, Toto found himself floating on a soft cloud made of moss. The cloud didn't fly fast, it drifted slowly, just like him. Below, rivers shimmered like silver threads, and mountains yawned under blankets of fog. A soft breeze curled around Toto's shell, whispering a lullaby he didn't quite understand, but it made him smile. Tiny stars danced beside him, not in a hurry, just twirling. Each one blinked with a different feeling, a memory, a giggle, a quiet dream. Toto reached out his little foot, and one of the stars landed on it. Warm and tickly, it hummed a note, a single, sleepy sound that echoed through the sky. Then another star joined in, and another, until the sky was full of tiny humming stars. Their song didn't rush. It moved like clouds, curving gently from note to note. Toto listened with his eyes half closed. He didn't need to understand the melody. He only needed to feel it, like a soft hug for his shell. The cloud carried him higher. Still slow, still gentle, still safe. And Toto, the little turtle, curled up a little tighter, dreaming deeper than ever before. As the cloud floated further, a soft light glowed in the distance. Not bright, not loud, just warm and golden. Toto squinted sleepily, blinking as the light grew closer. It was a lantern. A floating lantern, bobbing gently in the air. And beneath it was a boat, a tiny boat made of polished leaves, stitched together with silver thread. The boat drifted through the stars, as if the sky had turned into a sea. Toto's cloud drifted closer, until it met the leaf boat, side by side. The cloud sighed, as if it knew Toto had another journey to take. With one sleepy step, Toto climbed into the boat. It didn't wobble, it didn't rock. It simply held him, like a nest in the sky. The lantern above swayed gently, casting tiny stars onto Toto's shell. And slowly, the boat began to move. Not fast, not loud, just enough to make Toto hum a quiet. All around, the sky shimmered. Cloudfish swam lazily by, blinking with soft, sleepy eyes. A slow wind trailed behind the boat, curling like a lullaby. Toto looked up at the stars. He didn't need to know where he was going. He only knew. He felt safe, and in the hush of the night sky sea, with only the sound of starlight around him, Toto whispered, "I think I like slow things." Then he tucked his head under his shell and let the boat carry him deeper into the dream. The boat floated on, slicing softly through the sky. No rush, no sound, just hush. As Toto dozed, a new sound stirred the stillness. Ting, 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 like tiny bells wrapped in moonlight. Toto peeked out from under his shell, his eyes still heavy with dreams. Set up ahead was a floating archway, spun from threads of stardust, twinkling in slow spirals. And dangling from the arch were dozens of silver chimes. They danced in the breeze, but ever so gently, never more than a whisper. As the boat passed through the arch, each chime sang its note, soft as a yawn, bright as a wish. Toto closed his eyes again. He didn't need to know where he was. He didn't need to know what was next. Everything felt right. Everything felt slow. And slow felt safe. Under the lull of the chimes, Toto drifted deeper, past sleep, past dream, into the space between them both. And there, in that quiet middle space, he heard something even softer. A hum, low and round, like a song the stars might sing to themselves. It wrapped around him like a blanket made of moonlight. And Toto, with his shell curled close, murmured, "This is the slowest place of all." And with that, he smiled. The boat drifted on, as if the wind had secrets to share, whispered only to those who knew how to listen slowly. Toto's shell glowed faintly under the moonlight, picking up sparkles from passing clouds made of silver mist. Then, just beyond the next sleepy cloud, appeared a floating garden. Not a garden of leaves or grass, but one made entirely of starlight. Petals shimmered like fireflies, leaves pulsed gently with glow, and dewdrops hovered mid, singing tiny lullabies. The boat nudged the garden edge, like it knew Toto was meant to pause there. Toto stretched his little legs, yawned a soft yawn, and stepped onto the cloud path woven through the garden. Every step he took, a flower bloomed beneath him, but in slow motion. As if the garden itself wanted to move at his pace, he wandered past glowing vines, each curl humming a note. He passed sleepy starbees, napping in petal cups. And then, in the very center of the garden, stood a being, a tall creature with a long cloak, woven from dreams. Its face shimmered like a puddle of moon. Not scary, not strange, just quiet, like it belonged in the garden. The being bent down slowly, gently, as though it had all the time in the world. "Welcome, little traveler," it said, its voice like moss on stone. "You walk the garden of gentle things." Toto blinked sleepily. He didn't speak, but his heart felt wide open. "Here," the being continued, "we grow things that take time, like kindness and courage and dreams." Toto sat on a mushroom that glowed pale blue. He could feel something growing inside himself, too. Something quiet and soft and strong. The being reached out, and from the air plucked a single glowing seed. "This is a thought seed," it sighed. "Plant it somewhere safe inside you, and it will grow while you sleep." Toto took the seed gently. It shimmered warm in his paw, and as he closed his eyes again, nestled among moonflowers, he thought, "I will plant it in my dreams." And with that, the seed began to hum. As Toto slept among the glowing flowers, the thought seed shimmered quietly inside him. Its hum matched the rhythm of his dreams. Then, with no sound at all, the garden gently faded, like mist pulling back to let the next dream begin. Toto found himself once again in his tiny boat, drifting across skies so calm they could have been painted by a sleepy cloud. But something felt different, lighter, wider, softer. Ahead, a new horizon bloomed. Not of stars, but of colors he had never seen before. Pale blues like quiet questions, rosy purples like remembered hugs, and golden green like new thoughts, stretching their arms after a nap. He wasn't scared. He wasn't confused. He was simply ready. The boat glided toward a floating hill made of whispers. It shimmered and swayed like it was breathing slowly. On top of the hill sat a tiny house, round and mossy, with a chimney that puffed out sleepy sighs. Toto stepped off the boat and padded up the soft path, his steps syncing perfectly with the hush 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 of the wind. When he reached the door, it opened with a gentle creak, and Ser, standing inside, was himself, not quite the same. Taller, wiser, eyes even softer. Older Toto smiled. "I've been waiting for you," he sighed, his voice like warm moss after rain. "You planted the thought seed, didn't you?" he asked. Young Toto nodded slowly, He felt it glowing inside him still. Older Toto reached into a pouch and pulled out a tiny mirror. "Look," he said. Toto peeked in. Inside the mirror wasn't a reflection, but a tiny garden. The same garden of gentle things, now growing in his heart. Toto felt a warm puff of wind curl around him like a blanket. "You don't have to rush," older Toto said softly. "Everything that matters grows quietly." And with that, the house began to hum, not with sound, but with knowing. Toto curled up beside the little fire in the corner. The fire crackled, like a page turning slowly as his eyelids fluttered closed. He felt the thought seed stretch again, this time sending tiny roots into his dreams. He smiled because deep inside, he understood something now. He didn't need to hurry to grow. He only needed to stay kind, stay curious, and keep dreaming slowly. And as the stars turned like pages above, Toto drifted into another layer of gentle, glowing sleep, somewhere beyond time. In the hush between dreams, Toto felt a feather-light breeze carry him onward. He didn't open his eyes. He didn't need to. He knew he was floating again. This time, not on water or wind, but on memory. He drifted through the moments he had lived, the ones where he had waited, listened, grown. Each memory glowed like a lantern, soft, steady, kind. He saw the moment he first heard the thought seed. He saw the flowers bloom in his garden. He saw himself helping a sleepy caterpillar find its cocoon. All of it gentle, all of it important. Toto's shell shimmered faintly with each memory he passed, not because it was magic, but because he was in this dream of dreams. Toto heard a soft lullaby, not sung with words, but with warmth. It came from the stars, from the sky, from the inside of him. Hamamem, hamamem, drift along the moonlight stream. Let your heart be still and dream. The lullaby wrapped around him like a fog made of kindness. It slowed everything down, even the passing of time. He floated through clouds, shaped like teacups and tortoises. They winked at him as he passed. One cloud whispered, "You're growing, Toto, even now, even here." He smiled, but didn't speak. Heish just nodded, eyes still closed. Then, in the softest corner of this sky, he saw something new. A tree, floating, spinning slowly like a thought. Its leaves were made of light. Its trunk was woven from stories. Toto floated closer. He didn't rush. He didn't need to. The tree reached out with a long, shimmering branch and brushed his shell. Suddenly, a tiny door opened in the bark. Inside, Toto saw a spiral staircase made of moss and moonbeams. Without a sound, he began to climb. Step by step, slow and steady, his little legs moving with ease. At the top, he found a nest, not for birds, but for dreams. Little dreams curled up there, snoring gently, glowing faintly like sleeping fireflies. Toto laid down in the center. The dreams scooted closer, nuzzling into his shell. He felt a soft hum all around him, like the universe itself sighing in contentment, and with one last breath, deep as a forest and soft as fur, Toto drifted again, this time into the dream inside the dream. In the dream within the dream, everything was softer still. Colors melted into one another, like watercolors on morning mist. Toto found himself in a gentle valley where nothing had sharp edges, and even the pebbles whispered. The grass swayed slowly, not with wind, but with feeling. It was glad to see him. Above him, the sky wasn't blue or black, but the color of rest, somewhere between dusk and dawn. He walked, not quickly, not with purpose, but just because it felt nice to feel the earth beneath his feet. A soft, rustling sound caught his attention. He looked to his side and saw a bush covered in tiny bells. But they didn't ring like bells. They laughed, quiet, sleepy laughs, like giggles wrapped in clouds. Toto leaned in closer, his breath tickling the bells. You're funny, whispered one. Your shell is shiny, murmured another, like a moonstone that took a nap. Toto blushed a little. If tortoises could blush, he surely did. He gave the bell bush a gentle pat, and the giggles settled into hums. Farther down the dream path, Toto spotted something curious. A round hill. Not just any hill. This one had a big wooden sign. Nap Hill, please walk slowly. Yawn before entering. Toto smiled. He didn't need a reminder. His eyes were already half closed again. He took a big breath, in and out, letting a yawn tumble from his mouth. Like a leaf floating down a stream, he climbed the hill, each step lighter than the last, until he reached the top and found a cloud hammock swaying gently between two cottonwood trees. Toto smiled. He didn't need a reminder. His eyes were already half closed again. He took a big breath, in and out, letting a yawn tumble from his mouth. Like a leaf floating down a stream, he climbed the hill, each step lighter than the last, until he reached the top and found a cloud hammock swaying gently between two cottonwood trees. No one else was around, just Toto, the hush of the sky and the whisper of the world. He curled into the hammock. It fit him perfectly, as if the clouds had been waiting for a tiny, kind tortoise to rest there above him. Tiny dream stars blinked, not breathing. They glowed with a rhythm that matched his heartbeat, and slowly, even in the dream, inside the dream, Toto began to drift even deeper. The hammock swayed back and forth like a lullaby with no words, just the sound of resting. Toto's eyes blinked slowly, once, then again, until his blinks turned into dreams. The stars above began to float downward, not falling, just drifting, like sleepy fireflies looking for a cozy spot to rest beside him. One landed softly on his nose. Another nestled near his ear. They didn't make a sound, but Toto could feel them, humming with warmth. And then the clouds began to sing, not loud songs, but the kind that only dreams can hear, like the quiet sound of moonlight touching still water. The words weren't really words, but Toto understood them anyway. You are safe, little one. You are loved, little one. Let the night carry carry you. Toto's shell glowed faintly, the way a stone warms after resting in the sun all day. He tucked his head in deeper, feeling so small, and yet so big inside his own dream. The stars around him began to spin, slowly, gently, like they were stirring the sky into a dream soup. Just for him, each one left a tiny trail of sparkle. Not bright, just enough to feel magic. And as they spun, Toto heard a familiar voice, his own echoing softly in his heart. It's okay to rest. It's okay to be slow. The world is not in a hurry. And with that thought, he melted even deeper into the folds of sleep. The cloud hammock slowly began to descend, floating down like a feather, carrying Toto into a deeper layer of gentle dreams. Where would he land this time? A quiet garden, a sea made of sighs, or perhaps a library of dreams where books whispered bedtime stories? Toto didn't know, and he didn't need to, because wherever he went, peace followed. And wherever he dreamed, the stars came. The cloud hammock settled down onto something soft, like a pillow made of whispers. Toto opened one dreamy eye, just a sliver, just enough to see books, thousands of them, stacked in little towers that swayed like trees in a gentle breeze. This wasn't any ordinary library. The books weren't made of paper. They were made of dream threads, woven with nightlight, tied with sleepy ribbons. Some books were snoring, some hummed lullabies, and others gently opened and closed, as if breathing. Toto blinked slowly. He didn't feel scared. He felt curious, but the kind of curiosity that didn't need to move. A soft voice echoed from between the shelves. It wasn't loud. It was the kind of voice that floats between raindrops. Welcome, little dreamer. The voice said, "Would you like a story?" Toto nodded without speaking. Even in dreams, he didn't need many words. A small book fluttered down from above. Its cover was deep blue, with silver stars that twinkled like real ones. It landed in front of him and opened itself. Inside was a story about a moon that forgot how to shine. Toto listened, not with his ears, but with his heart. He followed the moon in the story as it wandered through the sky, visiting quiet places, asking stars for help. And in the end, the moon learned that it didn't have to shine all the time. Sometimes it could just rest and let the stars sparkle for it. Toto felt something warm fill the quiet space in his chest. The story was about the moon, but somehow it was about him, too. The book closed gently and drifted back up into the shelves. Another floated down, then another and another. Stories about clouds who forgot their names, rivers who hummed lullabies, trees who dreamed of flying. Each story wrapped around Toto like another blanket in a soft, endless nest of peacefulness. He didn't need to move. He didn't need to think. He just needed to be. And in this library of dreams, that was more than enough. One of the shelves opened, like a secret door, and Toto, half asleep, felt himself gliding forward. He wasn't walking, he was floating, as if the floor itself were a quiet river carrying him along. The hallway grew narrow, then wide, then narrow again. But Toto didn't mind. He just let the dream carry him. At the end of the hall, there was a small room lit by a moon that wasn't in the sky. It floated gently right in the middle of the ceiling, glowing like a hush. A giant blanket was folded on the floor. It looked as soft as a sigh and as big as the sky. In the middle of the blanket was a book. Not too thick, not too thin, with a cover that shimmered when Toto looked at it sleepily. The title read, "For the One Who Listened." Toto settled down onto the blanket, which sighed a soft puff of lavender air. His eyes blinked once. Then again, the book opened itself, and Toto was inside it. Not as a reader, but as the story. He was in a forest made of pillows. He walked slowly, but in dreams, there was no rush. Stars floated between trees, and each time one brushed against his shell, it giggled. A turtle made of twinkling starlight walked beside him. It said nothing, just smiled, and matched his steps. The two of them walked together through the quiet dream forest. No need to ask where they were going. Just being together was enough. They came to a clearing where dream birds rested in nests of yarn. Some were awake, some were sleeping, some were sleep-tweeting. The starlight turtle stopped. So did Toto. The wind swirled softly, carrying a melody Toto had heard before. It was the lullaby his mama used to hum when the world outside was too loud. The starlight turtle nudged Toto gently. Its shell sparkled like a pond, full of moons. And then, just like that, the forest of pillows faded. Toto found himself back on the blanket beneath the floating moon. The book beside him closed with a quiet puff. He yawned, a big, sleepy yawn that made his shell wiggle. Maybe, he thought, he didn't need to run or climb or try to reach the stars. Maybe just dreaming with them was more than enough. Toto curled up tighter beneath the floating moon, its light brushing his shell like a lullaby made of silver. Outside the little library room, the stars began to sway, not spinning, not flashing, just softly swaying, as if rocking the night itself to sleep. Toto felt a gentle tug on his thoughts, like someone somewhere was calling his name in the quietest whisper. He didn't open his eyes. He only listened, and in the stillness, he heard it again. Toto, not loud, not urgent, just kind, just soft. He blinked once, twice, and suddenly he was no longer in the room. Now he stood on the edge of a calm lake, its water smooth as glass. The moon from the library was floating here too, right above the lake, watching like an old friend. Toto's reflection smiled at him, but something was different. The reflection didn't move when Toto did. It just sat there, smiling, like it had something to say. Toto leaned forward. The reflection stayed still. Then it spoke. "Little one, you're exactly who you need to be." The reflection whispered. Toto blinked. "Even though I'm small, even though I'm slow?" The reflection nodded gently. "Especially because of that." A ripple passed through the lake. Like a sigh of agreement, You notice things others rush past. You hear what others miss, and you bring stillness. Where the world forgets to breathe, Toto felt something warm glow quietly in his chest. It wasn't pride, it wasn't joy. It was something deeper, something like peace. The reflection faded. The lake stilled again, and Toto turned away, feeling lighter than before. He walked slowly back into the dream library, where the blanket still waited and the floating moon yawned. The reflection faded. The lake stilled again, and Toto turned away, feeling lighter than before. He walked slowly back into the dream library, where the blanket still waited and the floating moon yawned. As he settled down again, he whispered, "Thank you for waiting for me." And the room, the moon, the shelves, they all seemed to smile in return. Outside the dream, leaves whispered to each other. In the hush of night, crickets played their tiny violins, and the stars, they blinked in time with Toto's steady, sleepy breath. As Toto lay quietly, he felt the dream shift again, not suddenly, not sharply, but like the soft turn of a page. Now he was in a garden made of mist, with flowers that glowed faintly, like candlelight through fog. There were no fences here, no more loud noises, just a warm path beneath his feet, and tiny lights that floated in the air, like sleeping fireflies. He followed the path slowly, his little steps tapping softly on the mossy stones. Around him, the flowers began to hum. They didn't sing, they hummed, like lullabies without words, like comfort in sound. Toto paused beside a tall white blossom that looked almost like a cloud. It gently opened its petals. As Hay drew near, inside was a glowing pearl, and the pearl began to speak, without a mouth, without words, only feeling. "You are safe, Toto." The pearl pulsed kindly. "You are enough." Toto blinked slowly. He didn't need to answer. His heart already had. The garden continued ahead, but now the path was softer, like walking on dreams. A gentle wind moved through the flowers, brushing Toto's face like a parent's hand. He passed a tree where tiny dream birds rested. They chirped, but it sounded like yawns. Even the butterflies in this garden moved slowly, as if they, too, were falling asleep with every flap of their wings. Toto came upon a pond, but it didn't reflect the sky, it reflected feelings. When he peered into the water, he saw not his face, but moments, his first sleepy walk, his quiet courage, his warm heart, carried carefully through the world. And Toto smiled, not because of what he saw, but because he finally understood everything he needed was already inside him. The garden seemed to nod. A breeze passed. The pearl's light faded gently. As it closed back into the blossom, Toto turned, his little feet making no sound. The garden didn't vanish, it waited behind his eyes. As he walked back into the mist, the flowers bowed, and the butterflies followed him like tiny, floating goodbyes. And when Toto lay down once more in the quietest corner of the dream, he sighed, not because he was tired, but because he was full of peace. Toto stirred just a little, his ear twitching as the wind whispered through the leaves. It sounded almost like a lullaby, soft, slow, and full of dreams. In his dream, Toto found himself in a quiet glade where the grass glowed softly beneath his paws. Fireflies floated above, blinking in patterns that looked like stars come down to visit. One of them hovered near Toto's nose and gave a gentle little flicker, as if saying hello. Toto giggled in his sleep, the tiniest laugh, like the rustle of a leaf. The firefly danced in circles, and Toto slowly followed it deeper into the dream glade. Each step he took felt like a puff of cloud, soft and springy. There were puddles of moonlight on the ground, round and still, like silver plates. Toto dipped a paw into one and watched the ripples fade, slow and steady. Everything was peaceful, nothing hurried, nothing loud. The trees stretched high above, swaying ever so gently, their leaves murmuring secrets to the wind. Toto looked up and whispered, "What are you saying?" Tall trees, but the trees just rustled back, like a warm chuckle that only dreams could understand. So Toto walked a little more, finding a big round mushroom like a cushion in the grass. He plopped down, tucked his tail close, and yawned so wide it made the stars blink. Then he curled up once again, right there in the dream glade under the firefly sky. His breath slowed in and out, gentle and deep, and once more, Toto let the quiet carry him into the deepest, softest sleep of all. The night drifted on, quiet and kind, while Toto dreamed with a sleepy mind. A gentle breeze rolled through the trees, soft as feathers, cool as seas. In his dream, a path appeared, mossy, glowing, soft, and clear. Toto stepped with careful pause, not rushing, not thinking, just listening to the pause. Each step made no sound, not even a sigh. The world around him felt like sky. A tiny bell rang in the air. Not loud, not sharp, just barely there. It floated down from a silvery tree, whose trunk shimmered gently like the sea. Toto looked up, his eyes full of calm, as if the bell's sound had poured him a balm, and from the branches, soft light spilled, as if the stars had come down and stilled. The leaves were whispering lullabies now, and Toto could feel sleep brushing his brow. So he sat beneath the glowing bark, wrapped in silence, safe and dark. A sleepy sigh slipped through his nose, and Toto's eyes began to close. No hurry, no worry, no dreams to chase, just a little pup in a quiet place. His tail curled in, his ears lay flat, and he rested his head like a tired cat. One breath, then two, then three, and more. The world was still, the dreaming sure, and as the forest shimmered around, Toto slipped deeper, safe and sound. Somewhere far, a gentle hum floated softly like a drum, made not of noise, but sleepy sound that wrapped the woods and all around. Toto's ears twitched just a bit, but he stayed curled in his quiet pit. The hum was soft, not meant to wake, but only soothe like ripples on a lake. In his dream, a lantern flew, glowing with a silver hue. It bobbed and hovered low and bright, carving little paths of light. Toto followed slow and small, padding softly through the thrall. His paws were light, his steps were still, his heart was calm, his thoughts were nil. The lantern led him through the trees, past velvet moss and sleepy bees. past glowing mushrooms, soft and round, that barely breathed above the ground. He came upon a dreaming stream, whispering gently through the dream. Its water glowed like melted stars, reflecting light from lands afar. Toto leaned and took a sip. It tasted like a silent trip. 2 cozy dens and blankets deep, 2 midnight yawns, and drifting. Sleep. The stream then hummed a lullaby, so soft it almost made him cry. But not with sadness, just pure peace. Like time had slowed and joy increased. Toto sighed. His tail swayed low. His heart was warm. His breath was slow, and as the stream moved past his toes, his sleepy soul began to doze. 1 more step, then none at all. The lantern waited. The night would call, but Toto stayed, curled by the shore, dreaming dreams he'd dreamed before. Of star-filled skies and glowing dew, and all the magic nighttime grew. And in that quiet, gentle scene, Toto slept within the dream. And in his dream, so soft and wide, Toto found a moonbeam slide. It shimmered down from stars so high, a glowing path across the sky. He placed 1 paw upon the light and gently glided through the night. No rush, no fear, just floating free, like petals drifting from a tree. The moonlight sang a lullaby, with silken notes that floated by. It told of clouds and whispering streams, and wrapped around his sleepy dreams. And Toto sighed a breath so deep, his thoughts now light, his heart asleep. No weight, no worry left to keep, just comfort in the arms of sleep. Perhaps he's dreaming of a tree with glowing fruits and honeyed tea, where fireflies light up the air and mossy cushions wait with care. Perhaps he's in a meadow bright, beneath the gentle silver light, where butterflies in slow parade float by in hues that softly fade. Or maybe he's upon a lake, as still as glass, no sound to make. The stars reflect like tiny pearls, and moonlight ripples into swirls. Now take a breath, so calm, so slow, and let your gentle dreaming grow, like Toto drifting in the breeze, beneath the moon and in the trees. You're safe, you're warm, you're wrapped up tight in blankets made of purest night. Soft velvet skies above your bed, and dreams like pillows 'neath your head. So rest your paws and close your eyes, and watch the dreams begin to rise. The stars will guard you while you sleep, and hold your wishes safe and deep. Breathe in, gently now, and breathe out, slowly, Let the stillness wrap around you like a soft, sleepy cloud. Toto dreams of golden fields where sleepy daisies nod their heads and butterflies drift slowly past, their wings like painted whispers. And overhead, a sleepy owl glides soundlessly through starlit air, carrying hush and silence in every feather. Let your eyes grow heavier now. Like Toto's, gently closing, let your breathing slow, soft, deep, and even. Breathe in and sigh it out. Breathe in and sigh again. You're wrapped in warmth, safe in the hush of night. The world is asleep, and so are you. Let yourself fall, so softly now, into the gentle nest of dreams. Toto is already there, and he saved you a cozy spot. The stars dim slowly, the wind stills, the moon glows quietly. All is ready for peaceful sleep. Let go, and rest.